From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBICD, Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. It is Tuesday, the 20th of June, and we are just shooting through this 2023, man. And we are knee-deep in the middle of baseball season at this point. But you know that we have off-season in the NBA, with the NBA draft, free agency, trades, all that good stuff. All in the mix here in the coming weeks and all that good stuff. So you will be seeing a lot of players leaving their current destinations and heading over to new destinations. And, then the show begins where who's going to be trying to win the NBA championship? Who's going to have the bright stars of tomorrow? All that good stuff. Summer League right around the corner. So you know how it goes in the NBA. But first, let's go ahead and talk about Chris Paul could be back in LA very soon, as both Clippers and Lakers show interest. So Mr. Chris Paul himself is in the position right now to put himself back in the mix in Los Angeles. The Clippers want to somewhat get a trade going for Chris Paul. The Lakers, on the other hand, can do whatever they truly want to do. They may think about doing a trade. They may think about picking him up on the market once he is waived by the Washington Wizards. Now, the Wizards already said that they are willing to hold on to Chris Paul at this point as well, too, until they get something that fits their needs. So they're not just going to go ahead and throw the guy away and, just let him go. They do still see him as a valuable asset, and that's the main reason why they are trying to make this deal happen as well, too. So that's why they brought him in, and he is a guy that does have a very, favorable contract and everything that does kind of match up with the contract that they just got rid of in Bradley Beal. So this will be a very intriguing situation as we move forward and see exactly who is in the Chris Paul business right now. Chris Paul is a guy who is, to me, that is a bit over the hill. It's not a bit, he is over the hill. Let's just keep it real. The guy is very close to 40, and he's on the downside of his career. It's not like LeBron where he can just, cut that light on and have a big 40-10 night. You know what I mean? Chris Paul is a guy that literally it's just his voice now. It's not even about his skill level and him being on the court and being an impact. It's more about his voice and what he can do to help a team. But he can only help a team get so far in the large realm of things, in my opinion. I don't think that the Lakers should waste any time getting Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul is a much better fit for the LA Clippers because he has familiarity with that team, and he's seen as one of their greatest players of all time. That just seems right to me that you go back and you go play with the Clippers. That's who you established your legacy with. That's who you established your value in the NBA with, even though, he was a big time player coming from New Orleans when he did come to LA. So pretty much, I think when you always look at it, the trade that never was, Chris Paul was supposed to be a Los Angeles Laker, and that didn't happen. That was a trade that during the actual lockout strike situation that they had about a decade ago, Chris Paul wound up going to the Clippers in that situation, even though he was designated to the Lakers. I always felt that was the best move for Chris Paul because the Clippers needed a face. They needed somebody to put them on the next level. They already had the best player in Blake Griffin, who was probably a top 3 player at the time in the NBA. Now, we fast forward a decade later, Blake Griffin is literally just a guy that's on teams' benches now. And Chris Paul is pretty much about to become the same thing. But Chris Paul will be more value to the Clippers. The Lakers already have a loud voice in the locker room, and that's LeBron James. I don't know if he can bring these two together. I know that they're very good friends off the court, but that means absolutely nothing towards the larger spectrum of things for the Lakers. The Lakers are chasing championships, and they can't go into getting old players. They've already went through this situation a few years back, so they don't need to revisit this situation. So if I would say any LA team that needs to really be in the Chris Paul business, it's going to be the team that he really established himself with, and that's going to be the LA Clippers. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move forward to our next topic in hand, and that's going to be the pretty good one as well too. This is still more NBA. We have the Pacers looking to add a high value veteran for the 7th pick. Is this a smart move? I think that, you have a great player in Tyrese Halliburton who was able to step out and step in and really be able to hit the scene pretty well for Indiana. He played for Iowa State, and he was a very top-notch player at Iowa State as well too. And a lot of people were very intrigued with Tyrese Halliburton, especially coming from Sacramento, and the way that he was able to impact Sacramento and have such a great relationship with De'Aaron Fox. But he was the most important piece to the Pacers' future when they made that trade. They did get rid of an all-star in Sabonis to make this happen. And I've always felt like that was a very tricky situation. They also gave up Buddy Hield in the deal as well, too, with Halliburton. So it's worked out very well for both teams in the sense to where they've got talented players. Now, Buddy Hield has been a guy that's been a part of a lot of trade talks over the last few seasons since he got to Indiana. Halliburton's a guy that they're going to build the team around. Turner may be on his way to the next team, or he might be the guy that they see as the complementary player to Halliburton. I think that the Pacers really do want to keep the band together, and they've noticed that all they need is a veteran. They don't need to keep adding more youth, because the youth that's coming to the NBA is not good enough right away to help this Pacers team get to where they exactly want to be. This Pacers team is not used to being one of the garbage teams in the NBA. I keep it real with you. The Pacers have always been a team that's been middle of the road, or right there with the group that's always a consistent winner in the Eastern Conference. And I know this from watching basketball over the last 30 some odd years, how good the Pacers have been in that time. You rarely see the Pacers in the lottery of the draft. Now it seems like they're starting to become a frequent member of the lottery, and they don't want to do that. They don't like that. Indiana is a basketball state. It is one of the bigger bases for hoops that a lot of us have pretty much seen Hoosiers. So we should know that this is a big time hoop haven, and they want good basketball. They just don't want to be entertained by a basketball team on the floor. So they much rather go in the direction of bringing in established players that can help them win games right now, not games in the next 2 to 3 years, and, hope for big sellout crowds and everything like that. They know that they'll be able to attract sellouts with winning basketball games. So pretty much they need to get players that are going to help them win right now. I think that this is a great mentality to have. But what big name player are you going to get in the process? But there's plenty of guys on the market right now. I think that, it sounds a little crazy right now, but if you really look at it, and I know the Pelicans want a top 3 pick for Zion. They want it. They want a top 3 pick, but they might need to settle in a sense as well, too. They have a lot of good assets here in Indianapolis that can go ahead and move on to New Orleans and make that team much better right now with the players that they do have. So they may want to think about that. Halliburton would be probably the best type of teammate for Zion Williamson, because I know that he'll be able to facilitate the ball and make it to where you don't have to put too much pressure on Zion, being the ball handler and trying to be the end all be all for the team. He has a guy that can be complementary towards his game, and that's always a upgrade when you can have a dominant point guard with you as well. I know McCollum is there in New Orleans now, but he's a shooter. This guy right here can do everything, and that's something that will be very helpful towards Zion and his progress to try to become one of the elite players in the NBA. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out, but don't count the Pacers out on being a good destination for Zion Williamson. So we move forward, and let's go ahead and talk about college football. We haven't talked about much of college football since the end of the season. Now we have ourselves, now we're getting really close. We're about 78 days away from college football. We all know that we're going to be really excited about that first Thursday day of games, that features some ranked matchup, and then they'll feature a bunch of, teams that are in these smaller conferences, and we'll all be chasing those big spreads and things of that nature. But right now we just are over here just scoping the scene and just waiting for everything to start. But we have a team in Notre Dame that could be back. Can Notre Dame football return to the top of the mountain with Sam Hartman? With quarterback Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman is by far a quarterback that excites me. Pause. Let's throw that in there as well too. But Sam Hartman is a great quarterback. He's a guy that is a great leader. And I think that he is exactly what the doctor ordered for Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame has been in need of a great leader at Notre Dame. They've had good teams that were led by decent quarterbacks, good quarterbacks, but quarterbacks that were not guys that you think of that can go to the next level and be a top pick in the NFL. They haven't had a guy like that since Brady Quinn. Let's just be honest, okay? And really, I would say Casey Clausen, because I would say Casey Clausen was actually a little better than Brady Quinn. It's just that he didn't get the same type of shape because there was a lot of pressure on Clausen. Clausen was coming from a school in the Valley in Los Angeles that was a super team. You know what I mean? They had Mark Tyler, who was considered like a man. He Wendell Tyler's son, and it was really tough. You know what I mean, with that team pretty much being who they were. They had Will Smith was on that team as well. So Will Smith's son, I'm sorry. So there was a lot of a lot of expectations for him coming out of that school. You know what I mean? And I know the name of the school. It's just kind of on the tip of my tongue right now because it's out there in Westlake. So it's Westlake Christian or something of that nature. So pretty much that school was pretty good for a little run, and then they kind of backed out a little bit as well too. So that's what it kind of is with California schools. To me, it's always like if you went to Mater Dei or Long Beach Poly, yeah, you went to those are very credible schools. But some of these schools are fly-by-night schools, so they'll be good for a few seasons, and then as soon as that coach or that person who's recruiting at that school leaves, it won't be the same. Now, Sam Hartman was a guy who was on QB1. That was a very popular series on Netflix, and he was a part of the group that featured Justin Fields as well too. So it's crazy to see that Justin Fields is in the NFL balling and everything like that, and Sam Hartman is doing what he has to do. I think he might have been in Justin Fields' group or he was in Rattler's group. I think Rattler and Fields were in the same group, but I know that he's done better than Spencer Rattler did. Spencer Rattler stepped it up over at South Carolina, but in reality, he was seen as kind of a bust a little bit with the way things went at Oklahoma. But Hartman probably will not be getting as high as grades as Rattler because Rattler seems like the natural thrower. But Hartman, when you look at the quarterback position, this is the guy you want as your quarterback. And for Notre Dame to really be able to get back to the level of being the Fighting Irish, not just Notre Dame football, the Fighting Irish, what their nickname is, they need to have a quarterback like Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman delivers the prospect of this team actually going off and winning a national championship. Let's be honest. Notre Dame recruits some of the top players in the nation, but they haven't been able to have that golden player in a while. We haven't seen that. We haven't really seen that since Tua. Not Tua, but Teo. I'm sorry, Teo. And so pretty much now they have something like that. Hopefully he doesn't have an imaginary girlfriend. We know he doesn't, because, he's not the same type of goofball that Teo was. Hartman is ready to take over as the next Notre Dame legend, in my opinion. I know he didn't start there, and I know that it might be a whole lot of backlash coming from the fact that he played for Wake Forest before, but I truly do think that Hartman is going to make his case very well known for the Heisman this year. I know they want to give it to Caleb Williams right away, but if a Notre Dame guy is able to put up similar numbers to what Caleb Williams is doing, which probably won't happen, but he'll put up good enough numbers to where they'll consider him the Heisman candidate, he'll probably win the Heisman this year. And I would love to bet Sam Hartman as the Heisman this year because his leadership alone can go ahead and direct this team to a perfect record this season. And if you give Notre Dame a perfect record this season, they're automatically in the Final Four. Everybody knows that. And actually, it won't be the Final Four this year. It's actually going to be 8 teams this year. So Notre Dame might benefit from not having to play an SEC team right away in this situation as well, too. So it's going to be a lot of fun. That's all I can say. So pretty much Notre Dame, I would say this, be ready for this team to be a top 5 team in the nation. If not the top team in the nation by the time everybody starts losing. This could be the first season in almost 30 years that Notre Dame is the number 1 team in the nation. And I think that we will have a week or 2 or 3 with Notre Dame as the number 1 team in the nation. I know it sounds crazy now, but we'll talk about it in October when it does happen. How about that? I'm calling my shot early. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into our final subject before we take our first break, and that's going to be how big of an impact is Dalvin Cook's injury to his contract demands in free agency. Well, the reason being is because Dalvin Cook has a very, very bad arm. His arm is something that is a very key situation to both the Minnesota Vikings and his potential suitors as well, too. The Vikings could not pay this man a big salary this year because they don't feel too safe about his shoulder. They feel like his shoulder is not going to be the same. They feel like this is going to be a big burden towards him for the rest of his career, and it will be something that's going to hinder him somewhat. So instead of paying him the $14 million that was on his contract, they went ahead and cut him. And there was no team and they wanted to trade him in the beginning, but there was no team that was willing to give up assets for him. So pretty much now Dalvin Cook is on the free agent market, and he went and had a visit with Denver or Miami. He had a visit with some teams, and we haven't heard anything since. So it's starting to be a little more questionable now. Like, is he really going to get picked up? Is like are they waiting him out until they really evaluate what they have and then they'll go ahead and give him a call? Or are teams really telling themselves that let's try to meet this guy in the middle and get him his money? But that means that we got to do some maneuvering. I would say this. I would think that there has to be a real issue going on with him if he wasn't added by Denver yet, or if he wasn't added by Miami yet. Because I felt like when Dalvin Cook hit the market that he would be the automatic X factor for either one of those teams if they were going to go ahead and get him. Now, one thing that I do play into where I take Dalvin's side is this. It's Dalvin's legs that you're worried about. You know what I mean? Because that's what he uses the most to get past people. But you got to make sure the guy has a good shoulder that's intact, because that means that he could be a guy that fumbles the ball a lot if he's hit a certain way. because the way his shoulder is set up right now. Or he could be a guy that's literally going to be a few snaps and he'll be out for the season. Do you want to take that risk? That's the whole thing. And I would say that a guy like this, you would have to say, okay, we know that you're a great performer, but we have a situation where you have an injury that can cost you the season. So let's put you on an incentive-based deal and we'll go from there. But I know a lot of players try to avoid incentive-based deals because they know in incentive-based deals, the coach has all the power to make sure that you don't hit your bonuses in certain situations. And people ask, why was this guy benched? Why isn't this guy playing the game? Well, it's because they don't want that guy to get his incentive. They don't want him to get his bonuses. They don't want him to do any of that because they don't want to pay him for that. They want to pay him the same shitty contract that they signed him to, the base contract, because that's what they want to do. And a lot of veteran players fall up under this problem because if they don't outperform that contract before we get to the final month of the season, then that's when carries start getting taken away. So I truly do feel like when it comes down to it, you have a player that's going to make a very insightful impact on your team, but he's going to be really good for your running back room in general, in my opinion. I truly do think that it still is going to come down to Denver and Miami, but I think that Denver will probably win out in the end for Dalvin Cook services, because if Miami truly wanted Dalvin Cook like right away, they would have did everything possible to get him there, but they're very comfortable with who they have on their team. But when it comes down to the Denver Broncos, we know that Coach Payton has been in this position before. He brought in the older AP, and he brought in, and he also brought in, Latavius Murray as well too. You know what I mean? So pretty much this guy knows what it takes. And also another guy he brought back, his boy Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram had left, came back, and Mark Ingram was right back on the team, doing good, doing well. So pretty much that's what it's going to be. Well, actually, Sean Payton was gone when Ingram came back, but my bad. So pretty much, Kamara, all the stuff. So he knows exactly what it takes to get what you need to get out of your running back. So with that, let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. But Dalvin Cook should be signed in the next few weeks. It probably will not be anytime this week, but I would think right before we get to training camp, official training camp, that Dalvin Cook will be on somebody's roster. All right, so with that, we're going to go ahead and take our first break. And when I get back, we're going to go ahead and jump into some baseball. We got Blue Crew Daily. We also have the MLB Tuesday Night as well, too. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Cappers.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we are back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. Let's go ahead and jump into the MLB today, and we got the Blue Crew Daily. Dodgers kind of in some trouble right now. The Dodgers start a 2-game Freeway series tonight in Anaheim. Is this a must-win game? You know what? Every game is a must-win game, in sports, right? You want your team to win every single time they take the field or the floor or the court or whatever. You know what I mean? And the Dodgers have kind of ran into a little bit of a buzzsaw. The Dodgers haven't been swept by anybody all season, and it happened last week. It happened this weekend. They got swept. The Dodgers haven't won any series and lost every single game in the series. Does that mean it's trouble in paradise? Not necessarily. That just means that a team like the Giants, who were red hot coming into the game, just pretty much went ahead and had a great weekend against the Dodgers. The Dodgers blew a game, and pretty much the Giants took full advantage of that, and the Dodgers just were no match for them over the weekend. I think that the Dodgers were a tired team all weekend, and the Giants were a team that is in a good place right now because they're healthy and they've won and they're on a streak right now. They just won last night again against the Padres on a walk-off. So they're playing great baseball right now. There's a lot of teams that are just playing to streaks right now. Like, take, for instance, the Reds. The Reds have just won 9 in a row. That doesn't mean that they're shooing to win the NL Central. That just means that they've stepped it up at a time where other teams haven't been stepping it up. They figured out some things when they brought up a key prospect as well, too. So they're kind of in the groove of, winning games right now because they have a little bit of excitement going on in their dugout. But they're doing pretty much the same thing that you saw the Pittsburgh Pirates do. The Pittsburgh Pirates went on a nice little run, found themselves 20-7 and ahead of everybody in the NL Central. Now they're in third place, okay? Milwaukee is still the team that looms the danger. Milwaukee is still my choice to win the division championship because that's my choice, and plus 140 to win the division. And I think that, once again, they'll figure out a way to get back to the top of the division. But for right now, you enjoy what you're seeing with the Reds. The Dodgers, on the other hand, though, they're going through a losing phase. The Dodgers didn't do that great in April, but they had a great May. They were able to get themselves back in first place, and they were able to get themselves back atop of the National League standings as well, too. So the Dodgers have kind of dimmed and died and kind of played a little bit of patty cake and have ran into a little bit of a buzzsaw a little bit. The Dodgers have won 1 series out their last 4. That's a problem because the Dodgers literally find themselves losing. The Dodgers find themselves in a situation where they've lost their last 5 out of 8 games, and they got to be better than that. They got to be much better than that, in my opinion. And really, it's not 5 out of their last 8. It's like they're like 6, and the Dodgers just, to me, it's not working out right now. It's not good right now at all, because they went to St. Louis, they lose 3 out of 4, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Reds. Then they come back, they beat the White Sox 2 out of 3, then they get swept. So that's been the Dodgers the last few weeks, and this has to get fixed, and tonight they got Clayton Kershaw on the mound. He always pitches the Angels pretty well, but the Angels always find a way, if they want to hit him as well, too. But they're on the road tonight, and it seems like Clayton Kershaw has been lights out on the road. The last game that he was a part of was against the White Sox last Tuesday as well, too. And you thought that could have been a shoe-in and everything for those guys that night. The Dodgers wound up not getting them any run support, so they wound up losing the game. So as long as they can get Clayton Kershaw run support tonight, the Dodgers shouldn't have any issues beating the Angels. The Angels are playing great baseball, though, right now. Let's not act like they're not. The Angels are actually playing to the level right now that's kind of scary if you're the Astros and the Rangers, because this team does really have the best players. They might not have the best roster, but they have the best 2 players in baseball, Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. So if these guys ever decide to really start winning baseball games, then we're in a position where this team can go ahead and possibly run the table in this year's playoffs. At this point right now, they're 41-33. They actually have a better record than the Dodgers coming into a game for the first time in like 10 years. So that's pretty huge in itself as well, too. They're only 5 games back of the Texas Rangers as well. They just beat them 3 out of 4. They've won their last 7 out of 10 games, including going on a nice little win streak that saw them win 8 out of 9 games in a row. And then after that situation, they wound up winning another 3 out of 5. So this team is playing great baseball, and they've only lost 6 times this month. So that's another really good thing that's going on for them. That they've lost 6 times to 14, pretty much. Not 14, but they lost 6 times to 13. No. They've lost 6 times to about 12. Okay. So that's what I'm looking at right now, because this team is they're playing really good baseball. And you got to understand, they haven't been getting a lot of breaks either. You know what I mean? I think they've only been off since the only time they've been off this month was June 5th. Okay. So they've been doing this on consecutive days as well, too. So you have to be ready for what is in store for you. They've got themselves some rest this week. The Dodgers got themselves some rest this week. It's going to wind up being a really, really good game, in my opinion. I think that you have to be ready for whatever tonight at the Big A. So Dodgers, Angels, Freeway series, always very unpredictable, but who needs it more? I would say right now the Dodgers do, because right now the Dodgers have fell to 3rd place in the NL West. That's very unfamiliar of the Dodgers. That means that literally they've let the Giants come back into play as well, too. And then you see the Padres overlooking the bushes right now, trying to get back into the mix themselves. You don't want to just be ahead of Colorado. You know what I mean? So pretty much there it is. There it is. So Blue Crew Daily, we'll be back tomorrow to talk about tonight's game, pretty much. So you guys, we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our MLB Tuesday night. We got ourselves a full schedule as usual. You know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday will always be a full schedule. Monday and Thursday will always be traveling days, so be ready for that. So we are on a full schedule today. We have ourselves a lot of divisional games, a lot of very important matchups to divisional games as well, too. We got ourselves some really good spots as well. But let's go ahead and jump into the first game that I have on tap, and that's going to be the Braves at the Phillies. The Braves coming here 46-26. The Phillies are 38-34. The Braves have Spencer Strider on the mound today, and the Phillies will send out Ranger Suarez. So Ranger Suarez has been getting hit up a little bit. Spencer Strider got absolutely crushed in his last game as well, too. But he's still one of the top pitchers in the MLB, one of the best strikeout pitchers in the MLB. So this game is very, very important. I know it doesn't seem important, but it is, because Philadelphia is starting to get into the groove of things. Philly finds themselves winners of their last 8 out of 10. They're 8 games back as at this point, and they pretty much have went ahead and turned the corner, because they were playing pretty bad baseball for majority of the year, and then we hit the month of June, and they've been really good. This team has only lost 4 times this month. They've won their last 6 in a row, and they've actually went 13-4 to start the month off. And this is another team that hasn't had the privilege of having a lot of days off. They had a game postponed. That's it. And literally, they've been moving on since. But they've been able to win series. That's what they weren't doing. You know, they were having these games where they were having a lot of issues. So the Phillies are coming in here to this game very, 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 very hot. Now, you have an Atlanta team that's been playing some pretty good baseball all season long. They're the number 1 team in the National League as well, too, wins-wise, standings-wise. And then they send out a guy, Spencer Strider, who is a very, very good pitcher. Spencer Strider, though, he's been struggling, though. He's given up 13 runs in his last 2 games. He struck out 14 in the process, but he gave up 13 runs. He gave up 15 hits, and he walked 4. So he's having some issues. Now, before that, he was pretty lights out. He pretty much was averaging over 7 strikeouts a game and only giving up about 2 runs or so. So he's a guy that it's right now, it's kind of been murky with him. Now, Suarez, same thing kind of, but he's pitched very well in his last few outings too. So when I look at the gist of everything here, when we look at everything here, I would say this. I would say that this will wind up being a very, very fun game today. And I know that the Phillies are hot coming into this game, but I think that they're about to get cooled off today. I like the Braves with the minus 145. I think the Braves should be good today because they just seem to have the Phillies number. And guess what? This team is coming in here winners of their last 6 in a row and the last 8 out of 10 as well too. And they've only lost 3 games this month. The Braves are probably having their best month of the season because they've had a 7-game winning streak already this month, and now they're riding a 6-game winning streak that gives their record that makes them 13-3 at this time. So that's something that we look at, and pretty much I picked the Braves tonight because I feel like the Braves are playing just as good as the Phillies, but they're the better team, so why not? Let's go ahead and see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. Now let's go ahead and move into our next game, and that's going to be the Orioles and the Rays. The Orioles and Rays have been probably one of the better series all year. We all know that the Orioles took the first series this year. They took the first 2 out of 3 against them this year. That was huge. And then Tampa Bay came back around. They playing Tampa Bay again. You know, I'm trying to figure out, did they play in April? No. Did they play in April? No. They only played once. So this is their second series. I thought that they played more than once, to be honest with you, but that's not the case. So pretty much they get it back on, and as everybody should know, the Orioles do have a winning record over the Tampa Bay Devil Rays right now. So they have a 2-gamer coming up here Tuesday and Wednesday. These games will be in Tampa Bay again because the first group of games were in Tampa Bay as well too. So this should be a lot of fun, you know, because Tampa's going to try to get those get-backs, and these games are important because when it comes down to it, when we get down to who wins the division, if the Orioles have more wins in the division, then they win the division. You know what I mean? So I truly do feel that the Orioles come into this game with a little bit more pressure on themselves because now they're playing really good baseball and everybody recognizes that. But they're still 5.5 games ahead of the Yankees and 6.5 games ahead of the Blue Jays, and find themselves 7 games ahead of Boston. They're only 5 games behind Tampa Bay, but they have a winning record over Tampa Bay, and they've probably been playing the best baseball in the division at this point too, winning their last 7 out of 10 games as well. So they have a lot working in their favor, and pretty much right now they are the 3rd best team in the American League and pretty much the 4th best team in all of baseball. So with record-wise. So you really want this to wind up being a very good ending to the season for the Orioles. I had the Orioles actually making the playoffs this year, and I think I got that one at like a plus like 5-1 or something of that nature. But I had the Orioles making the playoffs this year. Everybody knows that as well too. They were my dark horse team for this year as well too. So that's why it's so good to see this team playing the way that they're playing. So pretty much at this point right now, the way that this game shapes up to me, this is more of a matchup to where they're going to overplay the Rays because the Rays have the best record in baseball. This is the first game of the series, and everybody's going to feel like the Rays are going to go in here and absolutely crush on the Orioles. The Orioles have one of their better pitchers on the mound in Bradish going tonight. You know, you have the Rays who have Glasnow on the mound, but Glasnow has not been the same guy that he was a few years ago. So this game is a 50-50 in my opinion. And I think when it comes down to it, will wind up having these guys actually play a pretty close one. So I have the plus 1.5 with the Orioles today on the run line, minus 140. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. Now, in our interleague matchup of the day, we have a really good game. We have a Blue Jays team that comes in here 39-35 going against this Marlins team that is playing on another level right now. They are actually over exceeding expectations as we speak. This team is actually up 2.5 games over everybody in the wild card race as well, too. Actually, they're up a game and a half over the Giants, and they're 2.5 games over the Dodgers, which is kind of a surprise situation because, the Dodgers are supposed to be way better than this, but Miami has won their last 7 out of 10, just like San Francisco's won their last 8 out of 10. So, you have two teams that are playing some great baseball at this point. The Dodgers, though, they need to figure out a way to where they can hold these teams off. Now, Miami going into this one against the Blue Jays are on the outside looking in of the playoffs. They have 39 wins. The Yankees have 39 wins, and the Astros have 39 wins. So the Yankees hold the tiebreaker because they're 39-33 compared to the 39-35 and the 39-34. So that's where we have that at. And then you got Boston sitting a half a game out as well, too. So this is a really, really important game for the Blue Jays tonight. I think that the Marlins kind of know that they are chasing Poppy. That would be the Braves. And pretty much the Braves seem to have a good lock on the division right now. So, the Marlins got to just keep on chipping. But they're playing great baseball right now. They're having their best month of the year right now. At one point, they won 6 in a row. Then they come back around. Now they've won 5 in a row. So when you look at it, this team has actually wound up winning their last 13 out of 16 games, and they're 13-14 they're 13-4 this month. So in 17 games, they've been absolutely tremendous. So pretty much you're looking at it, but you can tell though too by the way that their schedule was set up this month. They played against probably some of the worst teams that in the league right now. You know what I mean? They swept Oakland, they swept Kansas City. Those teams are both in last place. Then the White Sox, they took 2 out of 3 from them. That team has been awful all season, but they're starting to get it together. Then they dropped 2 out of 3 to Seattle, and then they sweep Washington. So you can kind of tell that this team is kind of just playing off the idea that they are going against the soft part of their schedule and taking full advantage of it. Now the Marlins are showing us that they are a really good baseball team. It's not about, them being an improving team or a team that's trying to build up something. They're a good, really good baseball team. I knew this going into last year. They got a top 5 pitching staff over there, and then they got some really exciting young players there. And then Luis Arias is the best hitter in baseball. When you have the best hitter in baseball, you're going to wind up winning games that you're really not supposed to win. And the guy has went 5 for 5 3 times this month. And we just got to the 20th day of this month. So that should go to show you that this team is determined to really be able to play out of the expectation, play above the expectations that have been given to them this year. So the Marlins are a dangerous team moving forward, in my opinion, but it just depends on how good they can consistently keep winning these baseball games. Right now, they're doing a great job of taking care of the schedule that's in front of them. But I would say these next few games against the Blue Jays are going to be really tough. And then they go to Pittsburgh. Then they play Pittsburgh over the weekend as well, too, in Miami. They'll probably overlook that situation today as well, that situation. So that's going to be a critical series as well, too. And then they got to go to Fenway Park for 3 straight against Boston, a team that's actually playing some pretty good baseball themselves. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But this should be another really good game tonight. And where I'm going with this one tonight is I'm going to take the over with the Blue Jays and the Marlins. They got Kikuchi on the mound for the Blue Jays. And then for the Marlins tonight, they got Yuri Perez, the phenom, somewhat, or the recent phenom, pitching phenom of the Marlins. So we'll see how this game shakes out, and we'll just go from there. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and take another commercial break. When I get back, we will jump into Talking Tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, we are back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. So let's go ahead and jump into Talking Tickets. And with Talking Tickets, we have ourselves a very, very fun card for me today. And WNBA Tuesday Pick 3. This is actually a 9-1 ticket, I think, somewhat. Yeah, so it's about 9-1. I'll go get you guys the accurate number when I do tweet this out. But I do like the under 171.5 with the Dream and the Wings tonight. I think that the Dream are a team that is on the rise of being one of the better teams, because now they have a lot of the uber talented players because they were able to draft in the top spots for the last few seasons and everything like that. So I think at this point in time that they're a team that's making the transition from being just a bad team now to being a team that wins games a lot. And I think what happens tonight is this one is more of a 50-50 shot. So they're going to play some defense on both sides tonight. So what happens is that the game stays under. I like the under 171.5. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We got the Storm going against the Sun tonight. The Storm are at home. The Storm aren't the same team that they were a few years back that won the title. You know, no Sue Bird, no more Stewart as well either. So they're just a kind of a basic team that's working on when they're going to bring in their next superstar, which will probably be another number 1 draft pick as well. That's kind of been Seattle's tenure in this league since they got here, is where they'll be bad for a little bit, build up the team with all these really great players, and then find themselves in position to be one of the better teams in the WNBA and winning titles in the WNBA. So, you know, pretty much we'll see how everything works out for this team. But I like the Storm tonight with the plus 8.5. We'll see how it goes. Now, the Lynx are going against the Sparks tonight, and I know that the Sparks will probably be a popular play, but the Sparks are dealing with a lot of injuries right now, and they got players that are coming in there on hardships, all types of stuff. So I think that this team is a hot and cold type situation, and I think the Lynx coming here after getting blown out by 31 points in Vegas versus the Aces, they'll come out into this game and they'll bring their best effort, and I think the Lynx actually wind up winning this game. So I'm taking them with the plus 200 tonight. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, we got the MLB PrimeTime PK6, 56-1 tonight. As I explained earlier, I like the Braves with the minus 145 tonight. They're on a 6-game winning streak. The Phillies are on the 6-game winning streak. Somebody's streak got to go. Then we have the Orioles plus 1.5 tonight, minus 140. I think that they keep this game very close, if not win this game tonight. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. but we'll take a little insurance here just in case. And this team loses by 1 run, we cash the ticket. This team wins, we cash the ticket. Regardless, though, let's see how it goes and let's see how it shakes out. Then we got the Blue Jays and the Marlins. The Blue Jays and the Marlins, as I said before, this is probably our game of the day. It got probably one of the better pitching matchups of the day as well, too, between Kikuchi and Perez. So we'll see how this one shapes up. But both these teams are really seething for a win here. So I can assume that the over 8 is probably the best bet in this spot. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. And then our dog of the day, the Royals plus 120. I know that this is starting to become a common theme. You know, it seems like it's always in rotation. Royals, Reds, Nats, Rockies, and the Reds, Royals, Rockies, the Nats, and who's my other, and the A's. It seems like those 5 teams are always dogs that I'm putting out here for you guys. Pirates as well, too, Orioles. You know, it's just, I'm kind of just used to these teams always not being that good. So that's why they're always out there like that. So pretty much we got the Royals again today, plus 120. We'll see how that goes. And then we got the Cardinals and the Nats. I got the under 8.5. You got Montgomery and Gore going at it. I expect a pitching matchup between those two very, very good pitchers. And then we got the Twins tonight with Bailey over on the mound. They're going against the Red Sox. Cutter Crawford is a guy that gets hit a lot. So pretty much I do like the Twins to win this game by 2 or more runs. So I'm taking the plus 140 run line tonight, and that's going to be our ticket for the Primetime Pick 6, 56-1. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, we have the MLB Late PK4, 16-1. The White Sox are plus 125 tonight, and we also have the under 7.5 with the Mets and the Astros. And then we also have the over 8.5 with the Padres and the Giants. And then we end with the Dodgers tonight with the minus 105 plus 125 ticket tonight as well, too. That's why we get the 16-1 here, and we'll see how this one shapes up. But I do like this ticket a lot. I think this bailout ticket will get home tonight. So if you put 20 on this bad boy, you get back 320, okay? So, you know, we'll see what the night brings us. All right, so with that, I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in. You guys are the absolute best. And I'll be back tomorrow. We got a lot to talk about tomorrow as well, too. We got a lot of baseball to dig into. We got some more college football to talk about. There's another team that, you know, that kind of catches my eye a little bit, but maybe people aren't talking about them as much as they should. And then, you know, we always have some NFL to talk about as well, too. And then we got the NBA draft as well to talk about and NBA moves. So you guys stay tuned. And make sure you tune on in tomorrow. I'll be back probably at the same time or at noon. So you guys just be ready. All right. But I'll make the announcement on the Twitter for you guys as well, too. So thank you very much for tuning in today. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And this is the premier sports betting show. As I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.